Hi everyone, this is Bernard Betrand, photographer, director, LUMIX Ambassador. On this quick tip today, I'm going to talk about the angle ISO setting on your LUMIX S camera and of course the related 180-degree shutter rule. It all comes to the origin of cinematography and the 24 frames per second norm in cinematography. In the motion picture film, the camera filming at 24 FPS was using a mechanical shutter, half of a disc that was actually covering the film half of the time, and then exposing the film the other half of the time. Every time the film was hidden by the shutter, the film was moving mechanically of one single frame. So as when shooting at a frame rate of 24 frames per second, the film is actually exposed half of the time. It all comes to exposing every single frame at a shutter speed of 1/48 of a second. And this is the speed that have been chosen at the time. That gives a realistic appearance to the cinematographic image when it comes to movement and motion blur. So when shooting at 24 frames, we will choose 1/50 of a second as a shutter speed. And this will perfectly mimic the cinema industry standard when it comes to how the motion blur should look. And because the original disc was indeed half of a disc, so a 180-degree disc, we call this idea of doubling the frame rate to get the shutter speed the 180-degree shutter rule. And you know that we have an insane amount of frame rate possibilities on our LUMIX S cameras when it comes to shooting motion. So if you want to make sure that you stick with the 180-degree shutter rule, and this no matter what frame rate you're choosing, the camera will automatically double the shutter speed for you in order to stay consistent. For doing so, you simply go to the camera menu, then on the image quality at the bottom, you will find SS gain operation. By default, your LUMIX camera will be set on SEC ISO. This will give you the usual shutter speed, like the one you will use when you're shooting still images. But right under, you will find the angle ISO. And from there, you will no longer see the actual shutter speed, but the shutter angle. Remember, the 180-degree is the rule. No matter the frame rate you'll be choosing for filming, it will automatically apply the proper shutter speed to stick with the 180-degree shutter rule and give you the motion blur into your image that is considered to be really close to what the human eye is able to see in terms of motion blur. So now, do you have to stick with the rule? Of course not. In 1998, Steven Spielberg was shooting Saving Private Ryan. He decided to use a different shutter angle on his camera when shooting the specific scene of Omaha Beach. Spielberg was using a 90-degree shutter rule or even a 45-degree angle on his camera. By doing so, he did kill down the motion blur a lot. And he did it on purpose, of course. When looking at the Omaha Beach scene, when a soldier explodes on a mine, and that the left arm of the soldier is passing across the screen from left to right, your eyes and your brain are able to notice. If that scene was shot on a 180-degree shutter rule, the blur would have made it invisible. So by using a 90 or 45-degree, the motion blur is minimal and you are able to notice any details. And Spielberg, of course, made that choice to try to make those war scenes the more uncomfortable to watch. Now, using a different shutter angle is used all the time in advertising videos, music videos, or cinema, of course. For aesthetic reasons, narrative reasons. So it is important to know the rule. From there, you are able to stick with it or not. You are always free to step into it and choose to shoot with the 90-degree shutter rule, or 45, or anything in between. The smaller the angle, the less motion blur into your images. And on the LUMIX menu, it is really easy to find. You will find the main 180 angle, of course, 90, 45, and anything in between. So play around that 180-degree shutter rule by setting your camera to angle ISO. And from there, no matter the recording quality and frame rate you will be choosing, the camera will automatically deal with the shutter speed for you to match the shutter angle you choose and to get the exact amount of motion blur you want or not. So this is it for now. I see you in the next video. Thank you very much and see you next time.
Panasonic.